If front page coverage is how we measure community engagement, Luis Lopez might already be Ogden's most successful outreach coordinator ever. It's February 12th, 2026, and welcome to another episode of One Ogden. Later in the show, we're talking with local filmmaker Ryan McDonald about taking some big swings with his latest short film and seeing it pay off big with film festivals and awards. But first, we got to talk about Ogden City's relationship with the Standard Examiner. In a one-week span, Standard Examiner published 3 separate front-page stories about Luis Lopez and what they're calling his new role with the city. You might remember, we covered this appointment on One Ogden back in October. Reporter Kathy McKittrick reported that the deal to bring Lopez on as outreach coordinator happened in February of last year. That reporting was offered to the Standard Examiner in the spring of 2025, and it was rejected by the managing editor at the time. So I'll admit I was surprised to see that same appointment now being treated as breaking news 3 times, all editorial board interviews, and all on the front page. The same job, same person, 11 months later. Which made me wonder, what changed? So, let's look at what these stories actually say. The first story introduces Luis Lopez in what's described as a new capacity, which is an interesting way to describe a job somebody's been doing for nearly a year. There's no clear job description, no stated goals, no explanation for how success is measured, just a reintroduction. The coverage frames it as a new development despite the fact that the job has existed quietly since February. The second story focuses on tone. Lopez talks about setting politics aside, listening to people, helping residents navigate city government. All good things, very hard to disagree with, also very hard to verify, because there are no examples, no outcomes, no one asking how that's been going so far. And then the third story tells us Ogden will be making more community engagement pushes in 2026, which raises a pretty obvious question: what had the city been doing for outreach in 2025? Because if you've held the job for 11 months, we plan to do outreach isn't really a headline. It's like having a trailer for a movie that's been out for kind of a long time. And what's most notable across all 3 stories is what they're missing. There's no timeline of accomplishments, no list of initiatives completed, no metrics, no outside voices, and no one asking what's been done so far. And then there's the placement. All 3 stories ran on the front page. Front page placement is a statement. It tells readers this is one of the most important things happening in Ogden right now. And when the same story is elevated again and again, it stops looking like reporting and starts looking like reinforcement. Especially when earlier reporting that raised questions about the appointment didn't make the cut. To be clear, this isn't about accusing Luis Lopez of wrongdoing. That's not the claim. The issue is that good journalism doesn't tell us what officials say they intend to do. It tells us what they've done, how it's measured, and whether it's working. If this role is important enough for 3 front-page stories now, it was important enough for scrutiny then. To their credit, the Standard Examiner didn't pretend this was hard reporting. But taken together, these stories to me feel a lot less like journalism and more like a coordinated effort to explain, normalize, and defend a political appointment after the fact. Okay, moving on. If you didn't know that Ogden would be participating in the 2034 Olympics, the Standard Examiner editorial board has another 3-part front-page series for you. This time, they sat with Mayor Nadolski and Commissioner Harvey to talk about how cool it is that they're going to Italy. I'm not even going to get into the Italy trip. Maybe there is a benefit to them being at the Winter Olympics in Italy. According to the story, the ice sheet is already ready. But yeah, we better go to Italy 8 years in advance. But how is this the model for news reporting? By featuring this kind of story on the front page over and over, is this the Standard Examiner telling us that they're becoming an editorial publication? Mayor Nadolski was pretty upset that his relationship with the Standard was being called fascism.
That confused some residents into thinking that we are, quote, fascists. This is national and international rhetoric happening in Ogden, calling us and referring to us as fascists when we're just community leaders and neighbors trying to communicate with the people that we serve.
And on that point, we agree. This isn't fascism, but it might be propaganda. And while I'm here, I have something else to say to the Standard Examiner. It is shameful in 2026 to run a subscription business and not have an unsubscribe feature on your website.
What's up, Ogden? This is Colby Peterson bringing you some sports headlines with an Ogden angle. This week, the NBA announced that Dub State's own Damian Lillard will be participating in the three-point contest as part of All-Star Weekend down in Los Angeles. Dame will be competing to win the crown for a 3rd time. He won it in 2023 when the All-Star game was held in Salt Lake. He was wearing his Dub State uniform in that one, and again in 2024. Should he win, He would be just the third player in NBA history to win the three-point contest 3 times. So we'll be rooting for him. Always go Wildcats. Let's get that Dame time. Weber State also announced this week that they're going to be chartering a bus to take Wildcat fans from Ogden up to Pocatello when their men's basketball team faces rival Idaho State on Saturday, February the 28th. This will be the second year in a row that the Wildcats have chartered buses to take fans from Ogden to Pocatello. Last year, about 120 Wildcats took the trip up to watch the men's basketball team face the Bengals in an absolute thriller that they came away with a dub. You can get more information and buy tickets at tinyurl.com/wildcat-shuttle or go to weberstatesports.com and click the ticket icon and Finding Men's Basketball. I'm Colby Peterson with One Ogden, and this is the sports headlines you need to know for this week.
Now I want to turn to a different story about a local filmmaker who decided he wasn't going to be afraid of backlash, took some big swings with his latest short film, Frankencock, and the result was more awards and film festivals than with any previous work. And just a warning, this is where the language gets a little adult. I was trying to cut together just a promo of Frankencock, and it was like, well, you can't show the cock, but how do you show what the show is about? You know? Like, is it a hard film to promote?
Depends on the circle. We'll get into it, but I went to like the SModcastle Cinema, like the horror festival. Easy to talk about. Like the producers of Terrifier are there. Like, so we can talk about Frankencock all the time. But like on a resume, I debate the flair of it is Frankencock though. Yeah. So it just depends on the circle. God, what was the scenario I was in the other day? And somebody was like, so, and what film was it? And fuck, where was I at? I was somewhere where I said, come closer, I'll tell you. I didn't want to shout it across the room kind of thing. My story with Frankencock is that at the end of the day, I've won more awards with Frankencock than I have with any other film that I've ever done. In areas that were more rewarding for me: best director, best film, best comedy, best writing, best editing for that film. And I use it now as like as like my own personal poster child for like you like the closer you are to the film that you want to make, and not necessarily what you think the audience will tolerate. Like you'll be paid in dividends later for pushing that envelope. And it doesn't always have to be grotesque, like an editing technique or something like that. Maybe it's continuity and changing that up or something like that. But the closer I was to myself with the movie than I was worried about how other people felt about it, I've been more rewarded by the film.
When you had the idea where you're like, should I make this? Did you have the idea of building a puppet right from the beginning? Like, how formed was it?
Oh, wow. So the idea came to me, it was years and years ago. There was a period of time, and Tim Burton seems to be getting out of it now, but like, and I didn't see the movie at the time, it was Frankenweenie, but I saw it like about a year ago, and actually really enjoyed it. But at the time he had that, which is an adaptation of his own like short film. And I was saying something frustratingly. I was just like, oh, he's got that new movie out, Frankencock, I don't know what it's called. And then as soon as I said it, it like clicked in me that like, I was like, oh, wouldn't that be crazy of an idea? A Frankenstein monster movie, but with the guy's dick instead. And then sat on that for a while. My filmmaking group and I, we were putting together these horror films. We call it like ancient evil movies, and they have each of them have a different plot. We actually it's like there's one that's like part 1, and the other one's like the second one's actually part like 7. Like we're just kind of skipping around, making it the final. And it came up to a point where I was going to direct one. I made one called Moon's Blood. There's a werewolf one that had B.J. Wimpy in it. For whatever reason, I'm not really making a horror film. I'm making like a comedy, like a horror comedy. And the only way I condone what happens in the movie is that like there's no morals in a sense, like no characters like worth really saving, so you can almost do anything you want to them. And there's a moment where so once the Wolfman arrives, the first thing he does is start to like dog hump this girl. And there's a few people that were on the production who wanted to drop out of the production for that reason. And he try to make comedy. Like George Carlin used to say, like, can rape be funny? So we went, there was a film festival in Salt Lake, we went to that, and I thought we were gonna smoke out all the awards, and we didn't. We picked up one award, but we really lost and what I thought we were gonna win. So then a year later, when Frankencock comes up, the question was, are we gonna do another horror film, or are we going to submit to the same festival? And I guess in my frustration point, I was like, you know what, if I'm gonna do it, then we're gonna go all the way. And I'm not gonna worry about how we are as a culture at times. Like it's just, and it was supposed to be in 3D as well. So originally, it was originally screened in 3D. So
really?
It was with that thought as well. So I was like, fine, I'll do this movie, and then I'm gonna stick a dick, and we're gonna go as close to the camera as we can. We're gonna go like this with everybody, and it's gonna shoot you in the face. And we ended up winning 5 of the 11 awards at that festival, and then I've continued to go on like worldwide to win at other festivals, and so it's just. Again, it's like you make it as close to like not worrying about what the censorship policies might be, and just going for it all the way.
Yeah.
To your other question, I didn't think it was going to be a puppet. No, I don't know. Yeah. So once I decided that we were going to make the movie, and there's the festival was in Salt Lake, and it's one of those where like they give you a couple of different elements that you have to include, so your film is kind of like more tailored towards that festival. Once I made that decision, but it was like late in the game, we had like 2 weeks. Sean Gordon, who is a special effects artist, he did the Wolfman costume for my other film, Moon's Blood. He also worked on Left 4 Dead for us as well. I spoke with him. I gave him the assignment of like what I thought the monster would look like. And we met the next day, and he had drawings of an eyeball on a penis, and it was like, okay, you understand the assignment. So, and so then it became a puppet at that point.
That eyeball placement, just while you mention it, that's good. Like it's super disturbing. I don't know if I've ever seen an eye on a dick like that.
Yeah.
But that scene, there's the one where it like looks right at him. And so how did it happen with SModcastle? Like, did you guys just submit out there? And
SModcastle is a theater that Kevin Smith owns in New Jersey, and it's like, I guess it's his hometown theater that he used to go to as a kid. It's like a 40-minute walk from the Quick Stop where he shot Clerks and Clerks 2. I know that's the 40-minute walk because I walked it just recently. But they had a festival run. I submitted Frankencock to it last year. It did not get in. I was really disheartened by that. And then now they have a horror-themed festival. And I debated for a minute. I was like, should I submit the same movie or not? And then at some point I just went, oh, fuck it. Like, so I just submitted, and we got in.
What's the festival like for you?
The curation of films there were incredible. I mean, there were some really good films that played there. People from all over, and people with different budgets. I mean, people from LA who had access to Universal Studios, like backlot stuff. And so we were really lucky to be a part of that. But it's an all-day festival, so they have that theater has multiple screens. So each screen has a block of films. Some of them feature, some of them short. But you watch movies all day long. There's other film, a lot of other people like me have traveled there.
Yeah.
And it's a great place to network as well. It was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of cool people along the way. Yeah.
That's it for One Ogden for now. Please help us by subscribing on YouTube, TikTok, on the podcast. Please share this episode with your friends. Big thank you to our Patreon supporters and contributors to this episode. Have a great week.